What's going on, Eurovoxers? So we've had, once again, another round of artists compete for a spot in the final for Melodi Grand Prix in Norway. Last week was won by Ryan Alexander, and there's another spot up for grabs this week, and 4 more artists who are hoping for that spot. Let's talk about it. So before we talk about this week, let's talk about last week. Jess, I want to know, what did you think of Ryan Alexander?
Well, Ryan Alexander was my favourite from semi-final 2. I absolutely love his song. I think it's very epic and very, I can't think of the word, but the singer and the song reminds me of a mix between Rasmussen from 2018 and Roger Ponte, who sang for Sweden in the year 2000. I kind of get a mix of the two together, which is quite interesting. The song, I mean, it's very cheesy. It's very kind of, poppy, cheesy, not to everyone's taste, but to my taste, definitely. And like on stage, he just looked like this big, he kind of reminded me a bit of, no offense, of Hagrid from the Harry Potter movies. He was just this big, strong, kind of hairy man with a powerful voice, with fire, and it was just quite incredible. And even though we haven't heard all of the songs from Melodi Grand Prix, at the moment he's my favorite to win the whole thing.
And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be compared to Hagrid. He was, of course, a great character in the Harry Potter series, and not the only comparison I heard. I heard Philip Seymour Hoffman and Orson Welles. There are quite a number of interesting comparisons for Ryan Alexander. Twan, last week this was your pick to advance to the final as well. Were you still convinced when you saw it on stage?
I was convinced he would make the final, and I actually really loved the performance. I completely agree with the things Jess said. It was an epic performance, and it definitely deserved to go through. But after I saw the performance of Fool for Love, I was just torn. I loved the intensity that it had, and I just love the song, and I've actually been listening to it quite a lot lately. So that would have been my winner after the show.
It was good to see that Fool for Love advanced to the final rounds, going against Ryan Alexander. I have to admit, I also quite liked that one. It was a nice, classy ballad. Probably not my favorite. My favorite was still Jagger, and it seemed like when we shot the video originally, it was Ryan Alexander who was leading the odds to advance to the final. But then Jagger took that spot. And I think it was because some people saw a live performance of it. And just to talk about that for a little while, that was really, really cool. It was kind of what I was expecting, to see something that, kept that space theme and, had all sorts of graphical elements. I will say that it was probably a little bit overkill with some of the pre-recorded elements. And it kind of took us out of the experience of watching a live performance. So it might have been a little bit too much, but I think it was really cool. It had a lot of ambition, and I'm glad that we got to see something like that. But of course, moving on to Ryan Alexander, I think in this case, the staging really suited the song. I do have to say, it is definitely a cheesy song, but it hits those familiar Eurovision notes that I think a lot of people really like to see. And come on, like having this epic Viking visual thing with guys doing backflips and singing this upbeat dance song. It seems like it's a formula that works quite well.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like it's just one of those only in Eurovision things where you would never see this outside of Eurovision. So fingers crossed, that's a good sign.
The moment I liked the most in the performance was definitely the part where the fire came on his hands. It was just creating a moment like no one can except for people in Eurovision. And it just directly gave me the feels, oh, he'll go to the final for sure.
One last time we go to war. We got no fears, we can conquer all. One last time.
There are at least 3 more spots available to advance to the final. Let's talk about who's going to be competing for a spot this week.
I got my pink jacket, spend my paycheck on this.
right, so those are the 4 songs. Twan, which one is speaking to you the most?
So in general, I think this is the weakest heat so far, but my favorite is Pray For Me.
Okay. What do you like about Pray For Me?
I like, well, it's a woman singing, you know, I love women voices singing. And it's just out of these 4, it's my favorite. I also like Vertigo. Vertigo gives me those like, not really opera, but it's like on the verge of opera, ballad, epic song, which I like.
In my case, I'll just say it right now because you picked the 2 that I'm actually thinking are my favorite. For me, it's a bit hard to choose this time around because I don't know if any of them have as much oomph as we saw last week with the 2 favorites. But yeah, Pray For Me. The thing that I like about that one is her voice really reminds me of the British singer Jess Glynne. And the type of song that it is, it's very contemporary. I see all sorts of potential for how it could look on stage, and I think that if the vocals are done really, really well, this could be a strong contender. And then also Vertigo, I think, is probably the best ballad that I've heard out of all the ones that we've heard, including the songs that are pre-qualified to the final. So again, if this is done nicely, also there's 2 singers with this. There's a featured singer. If the vocals are strong, if they don't overdo it with the staging, but they keep it nice and simple, then this could work. And what about you, Jess? What are your favorites?
Well, so I can't decide between Kristin and her song Pray For Me and C Gubba, I think they're called.
Uh-huh.
I actually kind of really like that one. It's a bit of a strange mix of kind of traditional Norwegian violin type music mixed with country, mixed with a bit of like guitar rock. And it's something that I think shouldn't work, but kind of does work in a weird way. And I mean, it's cheesy, it's catchy, and you just can't help but kind of feel happy and like wanting to get up and dance when you listen to it, or at least I can't anyway. So I love that song pretty much for all those reasons. But then I also love Pray For Me because it's such a nice contemporary, modern kind of sounding song with a great singer. It's got a great beat to it, and it has a lot of potential, I think, as well. So I'm hoping either one of those 2 will advance to the final, and I'll be happy.
Fawn, do you have any thoughts on Si Guba?
Actually, that's my 3rd favorite of this heat. I don't hate it, but I don't love it at the same time. It's kind of like not really a guilty pleasure, but it's just one of those songs when it comes on, you're like, oh, this is nice, and then you just kind of forget about it. That's what it is for me.
In my case, I think it's something that I would love to see performed, being in Norway or at like a Norwegian music festival. I am curious to see what this is going to look like on stage because I'm not sure if it has that big standout quality. But obviously everything changes by the time we actually see the programs. So who knows how it's going to go. So guys, those have been our thoughts on Melodi Grand Prix semi-final 3. What do you guys think? What are your favorites, and which one do you think is going to be advancing to the next round? Maybe it was Pink Jacket. We didn't talk about Pink Jacket. I think that we want to see what it's going to look like on stage before we decide. But again, anything can change. So let us know in the comments. Be sure to follow us on all of our socials. Talk with us. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the next videos, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.